Welcome to Fabric Summer Camp. We're thrilled to have you guys with us today. And today we're going to be discussing, you know what, this is not working. Just gonna, one moment. Today we are going to discuss Microsoft Fabric as an end-to-end data solution. Now, this is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. I have been sort of the principal, I would say, Microsoft evangelist here at Softcrylic for almost a decade now, especially when it comes to Microsoft end-to-end sort of analytics. And as one of the sort of premier partners for Microsoft in this space for a long time now, Softcrylic has been leading in-a-day workshops. We've been sponsors at conferences, and we presented solutions, especially since we have joined the Hexaware organization in the last year or so. And so I was thrilled to find myself on stage at FabCon in Stockholm last year around this time. And getting to present a little bit about some of the solutions that we've built inside the Hexaware organization for our customers. And I'm very much looking forward to going back to seeing our old European friends and making new ones in Vienna next month. That's something I'm thrilled and looking forward to. And so today I'm excited to be able to talk with you and share with you really what we're excited about when it comes to Microsoft Fabric, which is this new end-to-end analytics platform that you have all heard about at this point, but you may have questions about exactly really what it is and what it enables for you and your organization. And so we want to share with you sort of that sort of end-to-end scope and capabilities, and then talk about how that capability is really in position to dramatically sort of reshape and enable a vision for you and for your organization. Now, as we get started here, the agenda for today's conversation is really going to look a little bit like this. We're going to talk about just sort of an overview of Fabric. We're going to talk about what medallion architecture inside the Fabric capacity looks like. And we're going to talk through the bronze layer, the silver layer, and the gold layer. And then we'll talk a little bit about what presentation layers, what actual, consumer experiences look like on top of that architecture inside Fabric. And then I want to talk about what additional workloads can look like in that capacity, and then really talk about what the opportunities are for AI in this ecosystem, and especially what it looks like with enabling an LLM to consume our Fabric development, and how that sort of positions us for the future. Along the way, we'll talk about how Fabric really interoperates very well with existing stacks. And then if there are any sort of questions toward the end of our time together, we can discuss those as well. Now, if any of you have sat in on any of the in-a-day sessions that we've delivered over the years, if any of you have been to Dashboard in a Day or Fabric Analyst a Day or any of our other things, you know that I get pretty excited about some of this stuff, and I can talk perhaps over long about some of it. So I'm going to try to stay focused today and try and get through in the time allotted. I think we're time boxed at half an hour today. But hopefully leave a little bit of time for some questions at the end. All right. Well, with that said, let's talk Microsoft Fabric. Now, there's been a lot of chatter, a lot of noise, a lot of excitement about Fabric itself. And it's probably outside the scope of our conversation today to really sort of elaborate everything that Fabric is. But for those of you that have heard definitely Microsoft Fabric, but aren't quite sure what that entails, Fabric is basically a unified platform, a single SKU that you can purchase that is a end-to-end analytic capacity built on previous generations of Microsoft's products. So Azure Synapse, Azure Data Lake Gen 2, Power BI, and a few other pieces, Data Factory, a couple of other pieces and parts all together in a single product that is sold as software as a service. And so you are paying for the dedicated capacity of your a dedicated capacity, a dedicated virtual machine in the cloud that can engage across all manner of capabilities and workloads related to your sort of end-to-end analytics estate. And so you are not paying for features, you are paying for capacity. And Microsoft, as a result, is adding new capabilities to this platform all the time. There are new announcements almost faster than we can keep up with them. And at the end here, I want to talk to you about some new announcements that were announced just recently at the FabCon US in Las Vegas that we attended earlier in the year, and that are really exciting for those of us that are building out analytics deliverables these days with an eye towards AI integration in the very near future. Fabric is built on a storage foundation. It's built on OneLake, which is a single logical data lake built on Azure Data Lake Gen 2. Everything else in Fabric is layered on top of that storage solution. And a big part of the secret sauce of Fabric is a compute engine that provides native access to a broad range of analytics workloads on that storage system without the need for a dedicated server like a SQL server or anything else. The storage in the data lake, in the lake house, pardon me, in OneLake is done in Delta Parquet format, and which is an open source standard that is available, outside of Fabric as well. But all of the analytics workloads inside Fabric can query that file-based storage natively without the need, again, for like a SQL server or any other sort of intermediary process. So there's definitely a compute cost to that, but the efficiency is dramatic, and in what that enables for your workloads is pretty incredible. The capabilities of the platform include data engineering, real-time analytics, any sort of data science, BI, and AI workloads, and more is being added all the time. So if you're going to leverage this ecosystem as a way to deliver analytics success inside your organization, what does that look like given this sort of all the functionality that is bundled into the Fabric solution? And I think a good place to start with that conversation is to look at sort of a traditional medallion architecture. At the bronze layer, we're solving for data integration. Really, we're solving for bringing data into the Fabric platform so that we can continue to work on and with it from that point. And Fabric leverages an astonishing array of native connectors that are built into the product. There are over 300 data connectors native to the tool. And there are, if the data connector is not native, there are plenty of ways to build your own, the same way there have been on Power BI for years now. The ingest pathways, ingest pipelines are built on Azure Data Factory, on data pipelines, on data flows, which are basically my Power Query in the cloud. All of those activities are available. There are also Spark notebooks and the ability to build sort of code-first platforms for data ingestion as well. Fabric includes some sort of next-generation functionality with shortcuts and mirrors. Shortcuts enable you to build symbolic links to data that's outside the Fabric ecosystem. Things like if the data is in Snowflake, or if it's in Amazon Redshift, or if it's in if you've got data in Databricks somewhere outside of your Fabric ecosystem. A shortcut is just a symbolic link to that external capacity. Gives you a very quick way to make that data available to your more developed layers, like your silver and gold layer going forward. Mirrors are one step improved from a shortcut in terms of they are sort of transactional level replication in the Fabric ecosystem. And so once the mirroring relationship is set up, it's bidirectional. And any transaction that happens in the host database is going to be replicated on the target in the Fabric environment. And again, it's can be set up to be bidirectional so that that replication relationship works in the reverse direction. This gives you sort of that time-tested option of having a completely separate replication environment for analytics and BI and reporting from your production instances of the database, so you're not overtaxing production. This is, again, a well-established solution, but it's available natively within Fabric for almost any data source. All of these ingest pipelines leverage OneLake as the central sink. And all of these, you have end-to-end interoperability with other technology stacks as well. You have Oracle, AWS, Google, Snowflake, and Databricks all available too. The silver layer is where we do our additional, any of the transformation necessary to be able to structure the data and clean the data and position the data for our analytics. There are low-code and pro-code environments options in our Fabric ecosystem. We have transformation using notebooks, data flows, and pipelines. There's also native SQL support. There's that Spark support. And this is, again, where we're doing all of sort of the transformations that make the data ready for us to build our solutions on top of. Once this is where your data development, your traditional, SQL development, your heavy sort of lifting would have happened in your traditional architectures. And again, that same work continues to happen here in Fabric. The gold layer is where we encapsulate the institutional knowledge that is useful for answering business questions. It's where we take the data which has been shaped and we put relationships to it. We put calculated measures to it. We establish KPIs and put together context for those KPIs to give them meaning. This is traditionally where your BI developers would live and breathe, where they would be doing all the hard work of building out the semantic layer to be able to suit a specific reporting and requirement. The thing about Fabric that we're going to focus on here is that building a gold layer in Fabric is not a terminal destination. And this is what I believe to be an enormous game changer. The fact that we can take a Fabric gold layer and certainly it's consumable by your BI platforms, by Power BI or any other tool that you want to interrogate that gold layer, but it's also going to be consumable by our other workloads. There's also improvements to the historical need for Power BI to refresh these, especially for import models, to be able to bring the data into that Power BI semantic model for analytics. That is no longer necessary. For data models that are built on top of Direct Lake, you have the ability to, on top of OneLake, you have the ability to leverage the Direct Lake architecture, which is now building Power BI data sets on top of that same Delta Parquet storage layer in OneLake that we were talking about earlier. There is then no need for a separate refresh of the Power BI model. And these models can be vast. They can be much larger than traditional import models in Power BI. There is still the capability to do direct query or composite data models in Power BI, but Direct Lake makes, for the most part, many of those scenarios obsolete and no longer necessary. All of this means that the dream, the sort of holy grail of analytics developers, of a consolidated data model that is useful across a broad spectrum of reporting requirements, that dream has never really been closer at this point. The fact that you can put together a gold layer in Power BI, in Fabric, pardon me, not in Power BI, in Fabric, that is useful, that is directly consumable by Power BI, but also directly consumable by your workloads, your other workloads, is useful. All of the work that goes into your Power BI or other sort of, reporting development is also consumable by any other analytics task. And again, without the need for a dedicated refresh of that semantic model. So once you've got that semantic model built and in the cloud, then you can put together presentations on top of that. And the preferred way to build this in the Fabric ecosystem is to connect your Power BI reporting file to a cloud-based semantic model. And when you do that, then the Power BI reporting file is going to be very lightweight. It's only going to have the information in it for the actual sort of reporting configuration, your UI, all the visuals, all the sort of logic that gets built in that, but none of the data itself. And so what this means is that the days of having these massive PBIX files that you would have in your desktop authoring environment and need to sort of manage version control, all that sort of thing, that all goes away. And in fact, almost all of the authoring can be done in the cloud. In Fabric at this point, there is very nearly complete feature parity with the the legacy desktop authoring environment. And once you're doing all the authoring in the cloud, there is version control, and check in and check out, Git integration, all of the things necessary to collaborate across a larger team. The presentation layers can include things like natural language Q&A, and also on premium capacities, when you're leveraging Fabric, you have the ability to leverage Copilot. Copilot can be instrumental in helping you build out semantic measures, helping you actually do the hard work of establishing reliable measurements inside your semantic model. But it can also help you build out that presentation layer, and certainly accelerate the time that it's taking your teams to get that sort of reporting to a state where it is useful and illustrative of your actual reporting requirements. Traditionally, Power BI reporting has had audiences throughout the organization, ranging from the very top of the C-suite all the way down to your sort of frontline teams. And this, again, we're able to continue to do that, and even more so with having that semantic layer living in the cloud. We can build out multiple presentations on top of that one gold layer, all depending on the single source of truth. Now, this sort of end-to-end medallion architecture, I think probably all of you have seen, examples of what that looks like in the past. And so I'm not going to linger over long here on this sort of architecture diagram. But I do want to note that, every step along the data journey is something here that can be accomplished inside the Fabric platform. And then I also am going to want to make sure that you hear that it also, every step along this sort of medallion architecture, there is seamless interoperation with non-Microsoft portions of your tech stack. So again, whether that's Oracle, whether that's AWS, whether that's Databricks, whether that's Snowflake, whatever it is that you have already leveraged for the success of your in-house analytics, that solution can continue to be part of a Fabric-based delivery. And there's no need to sunset any of your existing tech stack in order to leverage this new sort of capability. All right, so with the medallion architecture sort of noted, let's look forward. And let's talk about, we are used to being able to build out BI workloads on top, in Power BI. In Fabric, beyond the gold layers can also be consumed by like traditional SQL analytics. There's a SQL server surface that's enabled that you can do any of your sort of traditional work that your teams are used to doing with SQL. They can continue to do that. And again, not only are they accessing the silver layer work, but any of the business measures that are built by your BI developers in the semantic model are also queryable from that SQL analytics surface. There are Spark notebooks and ML models that are positioned the same, giving you a very code heavy, code first option on analytics and additional workloads going forward. There is a real-time analytics component that is a very sort of new and emerging capability, and capability, I think, is the right word, out there. And so we are seeing more and more people looking towards that as something that is part of the solution that they require. And so Fabric does have that sort of dedicated ability to do real-time analytics on streaming data sets. There is an activator that lets you perform actions based on data conditions, and all of those workloads contribute to an overall picture, to an overall capability that really is uniquely positioned. I really believe this, uniquely positioned to provide a gateway towards AI success. And so I said previously that the semantic layer is where we sort of codify institutional knowledge. So all of these pieces of Fabric that enable the gold layer not to be a terminal destination, but enable it to be a stepping stone towards the success of all these other workloads, all of those workloads consuming the same gold layer, which makes it the source of truth for all of your sort of broad analytics estate. Fabric is then sort of positioning all of your semantic efforts as that center of excellence across the organization for all of your organizationally certified data. And what that means is that all of your other capacities inside your organization, advanced analytics, data science, your Gen AI capacity, whatever anybody that is actually building solutions that depend on your data can consume the same gold layer and have all of them output from that verified single source of truth. And all of this means that you're sort of uniquely positioned for the success of emerging agentic AI in your organization. Because every Fabric activity, everything that you do inside this capability becomes this amazing opportunity to curate the data necessary for AI success, to curate the data and leverage these semantic models that you're building as the context-rich memory for any sort of AI workload that you can imagine, including your LLM agents, right? And what was really exciting at FabCon back in Las Vegas in the spring was the announcement of Fabric data agents. This was a new piece of the Fabric puzzle. And remember, I said earlier, you're not paying for the capabilities of the platform, you're paying for the capacity, right? So all these new features that are being added to Fabric, they're not going to cost you anything extra. Fabric data agents provide you with a rapidly integrated solution for building intelligent LLM agents that can reason on your own business logic as encapsulated in these semantic layers, in the gold layer. And if that doesn't excite you, then I think maybe you're not listening to what I've just said. And I want to say it again because I get super geeked out and excited about this, that we now have the ability with just like a rapidly deployable solution inside the Fabric ecosystem itself to deploy intelligent LLM-based agents on your own gold layer semantic development. And we can do that in like within a super rapid turnaround. And so we are seeing customers just like you and your organization get super excited about this possibility. And so we're excited to start working with you to build out these end-to-end analytics architecture, right? To build the medallion architecture to deliver the gold model, the gold layer that makes this part possible, as well as all your other workloads. And so there's, again, this sort of seamless integration between all the work that you do for BI now becomes work that is equally applicable and equally central and equally critical to delivering your AI objectives as well. And so we're at time, so I'm going to recap pretty briefly. I did actually keep pretty much on schedule. But Fabric supports a full medallion architecture and a unified analytics on that single SaaS platform. It is both hybrid and interoperable, but it's also a single SKU solution that this one single product will do whatever you need it to do, just about. But it also will interoperate with any existing solutions that you have as part of your organizational tech stack. This, I think, is important. Your definition and mine, our definition of gold layer should almost like inherently include this concept of the Fabric Lakehouse. It should include the concept of that Fabric semantic model that has not just all the data shaping that happens in our silver layer, and not just like any sort of pre-aggregations or whatever that happen in gold before it gets to our BI platform, but all of the development that happens for BI as well. And if we can start to think about gold layers that way, then all of our workloads, including next generation, cutting edge, complete like sort of greenfield, like emerging capabilities of agentic AI, are then positioned to make full use of every investment that we're making in the whole rest of this architecture. All of the money spent, all of the time invested, all of the developers who have, sweated to make these things work, all of that effort and investment is now critically positioned for the success of AI in your organization. That's what I get really excited about this platform, and where I hope that you and your organization are also catching that vision and are reaching out to us so that we can partner with you to put together these solutions going forward. And that, guys, is really where we're at today. I do want to mention these 2 QR codes on the slide here. If you are interested in joining us for either Dashboard in a Day or Fabric in a Day, I would love to have you. If you do join that, either of those upcoming sessions, then please let us know that you've been at this webinar. It would be really fun just to know that and to be able to follow up on with that if we do have you in a class going forward. I know we're a little bit over time already. Are there any other questions out there? I have not seen any. Sammy, maybe is there a chance I'm missing anything, or are we good with regards to questions?
We are good in regards to questions.
Okay. Well, everybody, in that case, again, it's been my pleasure to get to share this stuff with you today. As you can tell, I get a little excited in places, but I hope you are too. And I hope you see the sort of, what the future might hold and what the possibilities could be with this platform. And I hope that I get the chance to talk more with you about that in the near future. Thanks so much. It's been great. Thank you.